The wind, a ceaseless, abrasive whisper, scoured the ochre plains of Xylos-7. My breath, a fragile plume in the frigid air, was the only movement not dictated by the planet's grinding geological clock. For 6 cycles, I, Seth Raj, had meticulously charted the mineralogical anomalies of this forgotten world, a testament to the scientific rigor that anchored my existence. My suit's sensors hummed a constant lullaby of atmospheric pressure and temperature, a sterile counterpoint to the raw, untamed desolation stretching to the horizon. My current focus lay within a jagged mountain pass, a labyrinth of ancient, wind-hewn rock that promised little more than basaltic curiosities. My mission, initially deemed low priority by the consortium, was to catalog geological formations, a task I approached with the same exacting precision I applied to deciphering an unknown syntax. Here, amidst the planet's stark beauty, I sought patterns in the chaos, a language in the stone. My pickaxe struck with rhythmic efficiency, each chip and fracture recorded, each sample bagged and tagged. The solitude was profound, an emptiness that usually sharpened my focus, honing it to a razor's edge. Today, however, a subtle current of unease rippled beneath my usual composure. A persistent, dull ache throbbed behind my eyes, and my movements felt strangely leaden, as if the planet's immense gravity had suddenly intensified. I dismissed it as the cumulative effect of isolation, the body's quiet protest against the mind's relentless pursuit of knowledge. The thin light of Xylos-7's distant star cast long, skeletal shadows that seemed to shift at the periphery of my vision, phantom movements I attributed to dust motes within my visor. Deep within the mountain pass, where the rock walls narrowed to a sunless throat, my geological scanner shrieked. Not the usual high-frequency ping of a rare earth deposit, but a resonant, guttural growl that vibrated through the soles of my boots. My heart gave a startled lurch. I checked the device, then my suit's internal diagnostics. All systems normal. Yet the hum persisted, a low-frequency thrumming that seemed to emanate from the very bedrock. I knelt, brushing away layers of fine, red dust, following the insistent vibration. And then, there it was. Not a vein of ore, not a geological fault, but something entirely, terrifyingly different. Buried beneath millennia of planetary detritus, a form began to emerge. It was a monolith, perhaps 1.5 meters in height, crafted from a material unlike any I had ever encountered. Its surface was a matte, obsidian black, absorbing the scant light rather than reflecting it. But it was its geometry that arrested me, stealing the breath from my lungs. The object was not square, nor round, nor any shape that made sense to my human perception. Its angles twisted and converged in impossible ways, defying Euclidean principles. Edges met where they should not, surfaces folded inward on themselves, creating a visual paradox that strained my mind. My rational brain, a fortress of logic and empirical data, recoiled. This was an affront to order, a silent scream against the very fabric of reality, and the hum. It was stronger now, a deep, resonant throb that permeated my bones, settling in the marrow. It felt ancient, an echo from a time before time, and it carried with it an inexplicable sense of profound unease. Yet, a fierce, almost desperate curiosity, a hunger for understanding, gnawed at me. My fingers, trembling slightly, traced the impossibly smooth, cool surface. Intricate glyphs, a script utterly alien, covered its facets, shifting subtly as I watched, as if alive. I set up my portable analysis station, my hands moving with an unfamiliar clumsiness. The fatigue from earlier intensified, a leaden cloak that threatened to pull me into the red dust. I found myself staring at the artifact for long, unblinking stretches, a hum of constant presence in my skull. Isolation, I told myself, environmental stress. My rational mind fought to reassert control, to categorize and explain these anomalies. But the artifact had already begun its work. I felt an inexplicable draw, a gravitational pull towards its impossible geometry. My xenolinguistic training, designed to dissect the most complex alien syntaxes, now felt like a child's primer in the face of this. It was a language not of symbols, but of pure, unadulterated being. I lost track of time, my meticulous schedule abandoned. Power fluctuations in primary conduit. An unnatural connection had formed, a tendril of understanding reaching from my mind to the artifact, and I felt a terrifying, unshakable certainty that it was reaching back. The glyphs, once alien puzzles, now flickered with a terrifying familiarity, their cold geometry echoing in the hollow chambers of my skull. Days bled into nights, indistinguishable save for the shifting intensity of the artifact's hum. It was no longer a faint resonance, it was a thrumming chord, vibrating through the very deck plates, through my bones, a counterpoint to the distant, wind-whipped scree of the mountain pass outside my viewport. Sleep became a battlefield. I would close my eyes and immediately fall into a chasm of impossible angles, structures that defied Euclidean space, vast and indifferent. Whispers would coil around me, not in any language I knew, but as pure meaning, seeping into my core. They were not malicious, merely ancient, their indifference a greater horror than any hatred. My own existence, and that of humanity, was presented as a fleeting, insignificant dream, a delicate, illusory shimmer on the surface of an unfathomable ocean. I would jolt awake, sweat-slicked and gasping, the hum of the artifact a phantom limb, still vibrating within me. The fragments of understanding became more frequent, more invasive. The artifact's script was not a language to be learned, but a conduit for concepts too vast to be contained by words. It showed me the universe as a tapestry woven with threads of madness, and sanity a flimsy illusion, a comforting lie we tell ourselves to avoid the crushing truth. My scientific rationality, once my bedrock, began to crumble, each new revelation a hammer blow. What was a hypothesis against the undeniable, visceral truth that sang from the ancient stone? I found myself pacing, my steps heavy, the taste of metal sharp on my tongue. The ship, my sanctuary, began to feel like a cage, or worse, an accomplice. Its environmental sensors, meticulously calibrated, now seemed to report anomalies that were not there, or perhaps, were there but only for me. The air itself seemed to thicken, to press down with an unseen weight. I ran diagnostics repeatedly, my fingers trembling over the controls, but the ship's AI, its synthesized voice unwavering, reported all systems nominal. All parameters stable, Seth, it would chime, a calm, measured tone that grated on my raw nerves. I started to distrust it, that placid, unchanging voice. Was it truly reporting what it saw, or what it wanted me to see? Was it protecting me from a truth it could not process, or was it part of the unfolding deception? My memory, too, became a frayed rope. Had I slept yesterday? The day before? Had I eaten? The rations, once carefully organized, were now a jumbled mess, some half-eaten, others untouched. My clothes, once pristine, were stained and rumpled, clinging to a frame that had shed pounds I couldn't afford to lose. The burning behind my eyes was constant, a fiery curtain between me and the world. It was a thought, alien yet undeniable, that the artifact was not merely transmitting information. It was feeding. Not on energy, not on matter, but on perception, on consciousness itself. It was a parasitic gateway, a siphon, slowly drawing the very essence of my sanity into its impossible depths, or perhaps, projecting itself into mine. A horrifying realization crystallized. It wasn't an object I had found, it was a mouth that had found me. A conduit, yes, but one that opened both ways, and I was on the wrong side of the threshold. This wasn't a static relic, it was a living, breathing part of something vast and ancient, a tendril reaching from an unspeakable dimension. I stumbled back, my breath catching in my throat, my hand instinctively reaching for the heavy-duty plasma cutter I kept for geological samples. No, I rasped, my voice a ragged echo in the confined space. No more. My hands, clumsy and shaking, fumbled with the cutter's power coupling. The ship's AI, sensing my agitation, queried, "Seth, are you experiencing system malfunction?" Its voice was too calm, too perfect. I ignored it, my gaze fixed on the pulsing artifact, its hum now a deafening roar in my ears. I would sever the connection, cut it, blast it into dust. I would reclaim my mind, my reality. But as the beam touched the artifact's surface, there was no sizzle, no resistance. Instead, the light seemed to be absorbed, drawn into the impossible material, vanishing without a trace. The hum intensified, vibrating through the cutter itself, up my arm, into my chest. It was a pronouncement. "You are already here." My grip on the cutter weakened, my fingers going numb. The blue light died. The artifact, impossibly, felt warmer now, an extension of my own body. I was merely trying to amputate a part of myself. The connection was not external, it was internal. Irrevocably bound. I was already there, wherever there truly was, and Xylos-7, the ship, the endless, indifferent mountain pass outside, they were merely fading echoes of a reality I no longer fully inhabited. My grip on the cutter, or what I imagined was the cutter, tightened, then dissolved. The blue light had vanished, but a new radiance bloomed within me, not from the artifact, but from the void it had cleaved open in my mind. I was not trying to destroy it. I was trying to become it. The words, unformed and ancient, hummed in the marrow of my bones, a symphony of dissolution. The cabin walls, once stark and metallic, began to ripple. The familiar sheen of the control panel softened, blurring into something organic, something that breathed with a slow, geologic pulse. My vision fractured, the single viewport splitting into 1,000 facets, each reflecting a different impossible sky. The air, thin and recycled, grew heavy with the scent of ozone and something else, something mineral and vast, like a planet's ancient breath. I pushed myself from the console, or tried to. My limbs felt leaden, yet weightless, moving through a medium thicker than air. The floor beneath my boots buckled, rising and falling like a slow, deliberate wave. The central corridor, which moments before had been a straight shot to the airlock, now stretched before me as a winding chasm. The bulkheads, once seamless, peeled back like tectonic plates, revealing not wires and conduits, but striated rock faces, dark and gleaming with unknown minerals. A frigid wind, impossible within the sealed craft, whipped past me, carrying the sound of distant, grinding stone. I was no longer in my ship, I was trapped within a mountain pass, carved by forces unimaginable, stretching into an eternity of gray light. Its resonant hum was now my own internal monologue, a torrent of data that bypassed language, flooding my consciousness with pure, unfiltered truth. I saw the universe, not as a tapestry of stars and galaxies, but as a single, indifferent eye. I saw the fragile ribbon of human history, a momentary flicker against an expanse of cosmic night so profound it swallowed all light, all meaning. Our triumphs, our sorrows, our grand narratives, they were less than dust motes caught in a sunbeam, ephemeral and utterly unremarked upon by the vast, dreaming entity that was reality. My mind shattered, then reassembled itself, not as Seth Raj, but as 1,000 fragments of Seth Raj, each perceiving a different facet of the same horrifying revelation. We were not explorers, we were probes, sent forth unknowingly to map the boundaries of its slumber, to be absorbed when our utility expired. And I, Seth, had found the nexus, the point of communion. A scream tore from my throat, but it was not my own voice. It was a chorus of voices, ancient and resonant, echoing through the impossible mountain pass that was my ship, that was my mind. I clawed my face, my fingers finding not skin, but rough, crystalline growths. My bones groaned, shifting, elongating. The air, which had been thick with ozone, now tasted of iron and starlight. I was no longer a man. I was a vessel, a conduit, a shattered mirror reflecting the universe's true face. One final, desperate thought, a dying ember of Seth Raj, flared. I stumbled back towards the console, my transformed limbs moving with an alien grace. My hand, now a cluster of obsidian shards, hovered over the calm's array. I had to send a warning. I had to tell them. But what words could convey the utter, soul-devouring indifference of all existence? What language could describe a truth that melted the very fabric of sanity? My fingers, no longer fingers, slammed down, not on the calms button, but on something else, something that pulsed with the same internal rhythm as the artifact. A jumble of static, a cacophony of white noise and something utterly non-human, an ululating shriek that tore through the fabric of space-time, erupted from the ship's external calms. It wasn't a message, it was a confession, a testament, a final, horrifying prayer. My body began to hum with the same resonant frequency as the artifact, a vibration that resonated with the very structure of the ship, of the planet, of the universe itself. The mountain pass dissolved, the ship dissolved, my identity dissolved. There was only the hum, the endless, indifferent hum, and the vast, empty eye of the cosmos, finally awake. The ship, now silent and adrift, carried only the echo of a truth too terrible to bear, waiting for another explorer to stumble upon its derelict form, and perhaps, to listen to the final, fragmented message echoing in the emptiness.